have with me today my guest, Heather Munn.
This area became one of the safest places for Jewish refugees and even other refugees in almost all of Europe.
Welcome to Heritage of Truth. My name is Patty. I have with me today my guest, Heather Munn. Heather has co-authored a book that I think we'll find very interesting, a novel. Let's show it here, How Huge the Night. So Heather, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you come to write the book.
I grew up in France as a missionary kid, and that has a lot to do with why I wrote the book. I actually wrote it with my mom.
And her name is?
Her name is Lydia Munn. She was a missionary in France for years, and she heard about this true story that happened in France during World War II in a small town called Le Chambon, which is actually not the name of the town in the book. We fictionalized it. A truly inspiring story, and so that's why she wanted to have it more widely told, and so that was her inspiration.
Sounds like a good plan. Do you all live near each other, or how were you able to collaborate on a book of this size?
We collaborated from very far away. It was simpler than it could have been, though, because she actually originally wrote the book herself. It was just her own book, and she was shopping it around, and got asked to rewrite it. She had already rewritten it, and she was thinking, oh, not again. And my dad suggested to her, why don't you ask Heather to rewrite it? I had just graduated with an English degree and wanted to start in on writing.
One of the things that they've told us in writers' classes and seminars is that don't think of yourself as a writer. You have to think of yourself as a rewriter. So that would have been something for you to know. Now, this is takes place before at the beginning of World War II, and it's based on a true story. So, did you have to do a lot of research in order to get everything historically in perspective?
I was pretty lucky in that Mom did a lot of the research. She was very, very thorough. Now, I've done a few of these things with her. We went together to the town where these events happened, but she's also just read a lot. She's read a lot of sort of obscure primary sources. She made timelines for me and made all these really good resources that I could just look at.
Yes.
Which is so great.
Yes. One of the best ways to tell, to get a truth out that you want to present, a lot of people won't sit and just read facts or anything like that. So if it's put in story form, the word will get out to the general public quite a bit more. And I think your book will have a good message here. It's about a teenage boy. Can you tell us a little bit about the character?
Well, his name is Julien. If you're French, it's Julien, but you can say Julien. Right. He's 15 when the book starts, and he's sort of your average teenager. His family has just moved from Paris to this little town in the middle of nowhere. He's kind of mad about that. The boys at school won't let him participate in the soccer games because he's the new guy, and he got a little bit cocky with the leader of the boys, and now the guy doesn't like him. And that's his major problem at the beginning of the book. And then his country falls to the Nazis, and his life is just turned over.
You talk about the story that should be more widely, that your mother wanted to be more widely told. Exactly what is that story?
This little town sort of in the middle of nowhere called Le Chambon-sur-Lignon. And actually, I have to say, it wasn't just this town. The region that it was in participated in this a lot. This area became one of the safest places for Jewish refugees and even other refugees in almost all of Europe. Wow. The town itself was recognized by Yad Vashem as, the righteous among the nations. It's rare for a whole town to be recognized. There's only 2, I think.
So exactly what did they do to shelter or to help the the Jews?
Well, it started with simply a few people showing up and being taken in. You know, the early years of the war, things were confusing. It was not clear in how much danger they really were in.
Yeah.
They were refugees and they were in need, and that was sort of the first thing, being willing to take in people in need. But later on, you know, things were heating up. The Vichy government, which collaborated with the Nazis in the southern half of France, which was semi-independent, they were interning people in internment camps, which were, they weren't death camps, but actually the people in those camps ended up getting sent to the death camps later in the war.
I see.
So, and then, this is part of what the sequel is about. Sorry, it's a little bit long here, but agencies started bringing kids out of those camps. Aid agencies, and they started some sponsored children's homes in this town. And that's a lot of the people who ended up in the town were kids, because the government was allowing them out at first. They tried to get them back. They had given them new identities by then.
Were the people doing this out of just a humanitarian effort, thinking, oh, these poor kids, maybe we can help them? Or were they doing it from a Christian perspective, like thinking this is what Christ would have us do?
There was a significant faith inspiration. Especially, there was a pastor named Andre Trocmé who was at least one of the inspirations within the region for this. He preached very strongly that he actually believed in pacifism, that Jesus wanted us not to harm anyone, even the Nazis, but very, very strongly about Jesus wants us to help those who need help, and that is the thing we need to be doing. That is the thing we've got to be focusing on.
Interesting. Wow. You mentioned a sequel. So you have another one coming out, or
yeah, we're in the process of contracting it with the same publisher. It doesn't have a title yet, but it actually, this story is sort of a coming of age story for this teenage boy. The next one is sort of a coming of age story for his younger sister. This story about the internment camps and getting children out of the internment camps, that's what the sequel is focused on. This younger sister actually becomes an assistant to someone from an aid agency who is traveling to the camps and taking out children who've gotten released and bringing them to the town.
It sounds like it's going to be very exciting to see as your story develops. We'll all be waiting for the next installment. But thank you so much for being here. Tell us, where can people find your book? Is there a website, or do we just need to get it at the bookstore?
Well, it's in bookstores. It's you can probably buy it anywhere online that you can buy books. And there's a website, www.howhugethenight.com, just with a little bit extra information, some deleted scenes.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Great. Heather, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.